The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
As Jesus and his disciples were gathering in Galilee, Jesus said to them, "The Son of Man is to be handed over to men, and they will kill him, and he will be raised on the third day." And they were overwhelmed with grief. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the temple tax approached Peter and said, "Does not your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes," he said. When he came into the house, before he had time to speak, Jesus asked him, "What is your opinion, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth take tolls or census tax? From their subjects or from foreigners?" When he said, "From foreigners," Jesus said to him, "Then the subjects are exempt. But that we may not offend them, go to the sea, drop in a hook, and take the first fish that comes up. Open its mouth, and you will find a coin worth twice the temple tax. Give that to them for me and for you." Brothers and sisters, the Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning to everyone. Have you ever had an argument with someone and later on you won that argument, but still later on you know you lost the person? You have proved your point, you showed that you were right, but afterwards, instead of feeling good, you realized, yes, tama nga ako, pero nasaktan ko naman siya. Nanalo ka, pero hindi ka masaya. Sometimes we win the argument, but we also lose the relationship. And that is precisely where today's gospel gives us a beautiful lesson. Peter is asked, "Does your teacher pay the temple tax?" Nagbabayad ba ang iyong master ng temple tax? Jesus explains that as the Son of God, he is actually free from this obligation. In other words, Jesus has the right not to pay. But then he says something surprising. He said, "But that we may not offend them." So Jesus tells Peter to pay the tax for both of them. Hindi niya kailangang magbayad, but Jesus said, so that we will not offend them, just pay them. Why? Because Jesus teaches us something very important. Not everything we have the right to do is necessarily the best thing to do. And there are moments when love would ask us to surrender a legitimate right, not because we are wrong, but because charity is more important than the act of proving that we are right. Being right is not the same as being charitable. Sometimes we hear ourselves telling people, "Pero tama naman ako." But the question of Jesus is not only, are you right? The deeper question is, how are you going to be right? Because you can be right without being harsh. You can correct someone without humiliating them. You can defend the truth without destroying the person. And that is the difference between being right and being charitable. Let's just look in our family context. In the family, you may know that the other person is wrong. Alam mo na mali siya. Tama ka. You have every reason to correct them. But there's a difference between saying, "You're wrong. You never understand anything," and saying, "I think we see this differently. Can we talk about it?" You are trying to correct a person, but in two different manners. The truth may be the same, but the way we communicate can either heal or wound a person. Let's look at our work or parish context. You may not notice someone's mistake, and you have every right to point it out. But charity would ask, do I need to correct this person publicly? Or can I speak to him privately? Because sometimes correcting the mistake is right, but humiliating the person is not. And even in our social media accounts, meron po mga tao salungat sa ating paniniwala. We may have the perfect response, we may even have the facts to prove our point, But before pressing send, perhaps you should ask, am I trying to help or am I simply trying to win? Gusto ko ba siyang tulungan sa pagtatama sa kanya o gusto ko lang talagang manalo? Magre-reply ako kahit anong pamamaraan ng gusto ko. Jesus does not teach us to abandon truth. Hindi niya sinasabi, pagbigyan mo na lang kahit ikaw yung tama. Do not assert truth. We know what Jesus did when He was still on earth. He Himself spoke the truth. Jesus confronted sin. He condemned hypocrisy. Jesus stood firmly for what was right, but He does it with charity. Charity means that even when we stand for truth, we never stop loving the person. We can say, what you did was wrong, without saying, you are worthless. Pwede mo namang sabihing mali siya, huwag mo nang dugtungan ng hindi magandang salita. That is being right and at the same time, being charitable. Now, my dear friends, Jesus will demonstrate this even more profoundly when He will be on the cross. He had every right to defend Himself. Pwede siyang tumawag sa mga anghel para ipaglaban siya. He had every right to condemn those who rejected Him. But on the cross, Jesus forgave them. Perhaps He was telling us, I could, but I will not. Not because I am powerless, but because I love. Yun po yung pamantayan ni Jesus. Sometimes we can be right in our words, but wrong in our attitudes. We can have the truth on our side, but forget to have love in our hearts. So let us remember, my dear friends, let us stand for truth, but stand with charity. Let us correct when necessary, but correct with love. Let us know your rights, but know when love asks you to surrender them. Because Christianity is not simply about being right. At the end of the day, Christianity is about being right in the right way. May you and I be faithful disciples, yes, by asserting our right, but we do it in the right way with charity. Amen.